And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and tonight the Madison, Wisconsin community is in mourning after a teacher and student were killed in a shooting at a Christian school. Police say the shooter also died. Let's get straight over to Jeff Harris at the live desk, and police just shared an update. Jeff, what are you learning?
Some new information just into the live desk, Dee Dee. We've now learned that the suspected shooter is 15-year-old Samantha Rupnow, who you see right here on the left-hand portion of your screen. A teacher and a student are now dead. 6 others were hurt. Police say she planned the attack in advance. Police are now combing through her family's home, already confirming they found a manifesto planning this crime.
On December 16, 2024, 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow opened fire in a private Christian Wisconsin grade school, killing 42-year-old teacher Aaron West and 14-year-old Ruby Vergara, as well as injuring 6 other people. You might be wondering why I'm uploading yet another video about a killer, especially after the last one about Luigi Mangione and Thomas Matthew Crooks. I know a lot of people want me to remaster my old videos, and trust me, I've already written most of the scripts for them, but I really want those videos to be made as well as humanly possible, since they are by far my favorite stories, and the ones I either have the strongest emotional connection to, or find the most entertaining. We are nearing the 1-year anniversary of when I started uploading YouTube videos, and I really want to make sure that the remastered videos are done to the best of my ability so that they can tell the story I want to tell. But this was an emergency upload just simply due to the perpetrator's connection to the Inkwell space, or rather the supposed connection. You can see the media is already trying to cover this up as much as possible simply due to the misandrous content that was spewed in her manifesto. I just wanted to look at this recent case from the lens of a guy that's in the lookism community, seeing as she reportedly self-identified as a femcel online. Of course, this won't be a comprehensive look at Natalie, who I'll be calling Samantha's life, as all the details are not fully out yet. I expect Dire Trip or Turkey Tom to eventually make multiple hours worth of content on this topic, similar to how they did with Randy Stair, which to me is by far one of the most interesting online cases I've watched videos about. But in this video, I wanted to simply analyze the manifesto a bit and look at how bullying and failed parenting played a role in this teenager's actions. You'll find that she actually had a decent amount in common with the people in the PSL space. It is important to mention that this information was taken from Twitter leaks, and it's all allegedly hers. However, the information she writes in her manifesto appears to line up with the timeline of events that have been confirmed from other sources, and her overall personality and tone corresponds to how she was described by other people. So first I want to start with the 5.5-page manifesto. I'm going to read the whole thing and comment on the parts which I find relevant.
War against humanity. The creation of a disaster, and why is it so unfair? Hatred. Something everyone has gotten. In a sense, some people think it's pure nothing, but because of the hate they make, it ends up killing them without knowing it. Which go right ahead. I don't mind, but kinda do at the same time. You are just simply nothing but scum to this world or to even think about. Nobody should want you or your body in any way. I hate seeing people on a daily basis just being so sensitive. Gives me one more reason to take off my glasses. The human scum is color and the way people are raised. I've grown around people who do not care or give one single care in the world and smoke their lungs out with weed or drink as much as they can like my own father. I've grown to hate people and society. It's truly not my fault though. It never was. But all of you and the world have done to me is pick and tease me. You've pushed me into a corner with no help whatsoever. Humanity is filth, and I don't like filth, nor want to live in it, nor should anyone else. And I know it follows me, and how it has followed me, and will follow everyone because of how the world is run.
I should point out that there are a lot of grammar mistakes throughout this manifesto. She still sounds like a kid throughout all of it, simply based off of her writing alone. I mean, you could make a low-hanging fruit joke about this and be like, oh haha, if only she took half the time to learn rudimentary English as she did practice shooting guns. But I feel like this actually indicates that maybe she wasn't super interested in her classes or doing well in them, which is a common trait among people that end up committing these types of acts. You know, they don't really have that drive to keep doing well in their classes or take their grades all that seriously.
There were so many things I wanted to do as a kid. Yet I can admit I was afraid of the other kids, and also even with my own parents. But I don't even trust them, and at that age as well, I didn't, and I never will. My parents are scum. There is nothing that will save them to make me think good of them ever again. No family to ever trust and to never trust society. There is 2 people, and only 2 people I will trust. One partially, and one I would never doubt. I can agree that I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but neither did my parents or anyone around me. I have changed, and I will not go back to that ever again. I'm hardened, and I'm different.
First of all, it's important to note that she hates her father. I mean, this is a brutal case of the parent pill. I did some research, and it turns out that her mother and father were divorced and shared custody between her. I mean, having divorced parents will typically have a bad impact on the child, even if staying together is a worse outcome. It's a common feeling among children of divorced parents to feel as if there's an expiration date on all relationships, and that they are only temporary. I know there's going to be someone in the comment section who doesn't understand what I'm saying. They're going to be like, oh, but bro, sometimes being together for the kids is worse. And yeah, I agree, sometimes a divorce is for the best. But a divorce is still going to have a negative impact on the kids. It's things like this that make me worry about having a kid. Like, even if I somehow get into a relationship, what if that relationship falls apart and your child ends up like Samantha and suffers as a result of your divorce? I mean, it's a really depressing thing to think about. And the thing is, her parents got divorced and remarried 3 different times. Without a doubt, this has got to be incredibly traumatizing for your kid. I'm not sure if this means they got remarried to each other, or if they just remarried other people on different occasions. I'm assuming the latter, but either way, this can't be good for anyone mentally. It wouldn't surprise me if, a lot like Elliot Rodgers' parents, that Samantha's father didn't really understand what his daughter was going through. And the media is just gonna come in and blame the PSL community for all of this. Like, they're gonna be like, oh my god, she watched 1 Cyberthul TikTok, 2 Zeta TikToks, and get this, 12 James Sapphire TikToks.
Like a freak.
You're a freak. Look at that makeup.
You know, hopefully she watched K Shami and they finally cancel him. Also, it's interesting to note that she didn't really like smoking and drinking. A good quote I remember back from my days on the forums went along the lines of, incels don't hate degeneracy, they hate the fact that they aren't part of the degeneracy. It would be a safe assumption to make that Samantha was excluded from things all the time, and it really is a brutal feeling to know that you can't participate in any of that. When I was in high school, I remember seeing all the cool kids on social media living it up. Meanwhile, I had to cope by playing video games every weekend in my room, waking up on a Saturday morning just to get roasted by my cross-country teammates, and then, you know, embarrass myself there because I can't run for shit. And to this day, I still have nightmares about cross-country actually, and I wake up in a cold sweat. I always lied to myself and said that I was happy in high school, but looking back on it, being 15 was the worst year of my life, easily. I sometimes get my old journal entries from 2019 and 2020 recommended to me, and it's all just, oh, I wish I was dead, oh, I wish I could unalive myself, just really negative stuff. I didn't want to hurt other people, thankfully, but I definitely did want to hurt myself. And thank God for the pandemic, honestly, since it ended my sophomore year early. And I want to make it clear that throughout this video, I don't want to garner sympathy for Samantha, much like I don't really have sympathy for other mass killers. I know the way I'm trying to interpolate what her thoughts were from her writings may make it seem like I'm excusing her actions, but that's not my goal. And the further we get into this, the more unlikable Samantha gets.
This situation and the situation of a lifetime is a get the fuck out moment, and don't come back. I will never go back and nag my way through life. It's not even my fault, though. It's everyone else's. It has to be theirs and not mine. It's pure idiotic from people to cause this, but it's a good thing that this happens. It always is, and there will always be a reason for this, and reasons for other shootings, unless it's some Indian guy who wanted to blow up just for the fun of it, which is what those people do. I find that a bit funny. Not really funny to the point I'd laugh my ass off, but still, maybe you get the point here. Or maybe you don't, and think I might be crazy. Maybe you'll see me as a weirdo, a freak, just as some of you do now, but I'm not. I am not like the others. I would never ever want to be like them, with how they think and what they do on a simple day. I hate how the population thinks, grows and talks, and how they make romance fake. If only some days we could do a public execution, that would be gladly needed. I wouldn't mind throwing some stones at idiots, or even watching from the far back when they get hanged. Twitter can prove that for a fact, or so I think, and I think a lot more than some people think I do, or maybe they don't think what I think because most people can't do what I'm going to do. Death is something most people need to embrace and accept, rather than running away from it.
Yo, I actually missed this the first time I read this. I figured she just didn't like Indian people, because I read somewhere that Samantha was obsessed with watching gore. So I kind of figured she was referring to those train videos where Indians stand on the tracks, or those industrial accident videos. But then when I was editing the video, I realized she's referring to Islamic terrorists, but mistakenly calls them Indians. Like, this is Jeremy Meeks level comedy. Don't ever get up, man. And you'll see this throughout the manifesto, actually. She's quite hateful and racist, but she also doesn't know what she's talking about. And I don't think it's just her that feels this way. Like, you never know what the person sitting next to you actually feels towards you. It's just that most people aren't planning on committing a crime, so they don't really have a manifesto to write it in.
Once you know, you'll be proven guilty on all charges and wish to be killed in any good way that is not simple and is more painful than anything, or at least I would hope on that behalf. Revolution and population. The revolution should be, well, the population should be well, but it's not and never will be. I want to change that, but will I truly? The population of scum has been worked over the years, as it did during the wars and fighting over what should be right and wrong. The sick people will dissolve into dust and be forgotten about. You will ruin the human population and turn into whores of filth and beings that shouldn't live. Whores and scum are things I hate the most and will always hate. You have no meaning. You and your parents should be hanged in front of everyone. Black people, though, worse. Once you sleep with one, you are one. I don't care who you think you are or what you've done good for this world of yours. It will never matter, because you will always have no thought and no brain to continue with. I hate looking at some of the people in the society and seeing what they are and what they do with their lives, like, how does one do that? But I know how. Out of scum and just pure retardedness. I'm glad to be different, and not the same as other people. I know how to be formal. I know how to use my words. Even if I get mad at you, there has always been a reason, whether or not I despise you or just cause I can. Some of you guys really do deserve the execution punishment, rather painful or not. You deserve to be dead, but yet doesn't the whole world deserve that? The main target has been anyone with some sort of feeling, or being of knowing any action to turn you wrong and left, rather than the right and the better. Either way, I will always hate humanity, and it will never be overruled. If someday it's so overruled, and I shall never see that day, and knowing how this world is, and how everyone is scum of filth, nobody will ever overrule it, and all everyone will be is some worthless thing. Out of all serious talk, though, how everyone forces either religion on others, or how some people just disobey the right from wrong, and using the wrong for the worse. What I'm simply doing is not wrong one single bit. Maybe sure to some people due to its harmful studies according to some people. The hate I get and the hate you get is mutual. You hate me, and I will always hate you as well. No matter what you've done to me, but you will always have a little place of hate. I don't care what you think, nor would I really ever. I'd rather be dead than sit in a room all day, no matter if it's school, work, or even my own room. Even if I like being alone, I will never be like anyone else and ruin my mind. I am a part of the real thought and the real revolution.
I'm willing to bet that just like Thomas Crooks, she was made fun of constantly, and then figured she wanted to teach everyone a lesson before taking her own life. Like in high school, it's really hard to break free of your perceived status. I feel like a lot of kids just get dogpiled due to a negative stigma, and don't really get a chance to find that sense of belonging after people have made that initial judgment of them. She even said that she originally thought about taking her own life before deciding that this was, quote, better for evolution. Don't get it twisted, she just wants someone else to feel her pain. Cause if she only took her own life, she wouldn't have made headlines like she did now. Maybe at the very most, they would have mentioned her at school assembly, but even then I don't think they would have, since she wasn't that popular. She would have most likely have been forgotten about, and she didn't want that. She even said herself that she didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. Maybe if she thugged it out just a bit longer, she would have eventually found something non-destructive to dedicate her life to. I think everyone has those moments when they feel completely clocked out. I used to feel this all the time when I was Samantha's age, not the violent tendencies, but just that general feeling of tiredness. And I still do feel like this even into adulthood. I know it's going to be a long time until I find a relationship with someone who cares for me, and to be honest, I don't think that day will come for many years to come. However, I try to find meaning in the things I can control and not get mad about the stuff I have no power over. Like, I want a high-paying job and a medical degree eventually, which are things I have the ability to achieve simply because I was born privileged enough to receive an education and not worry about where my next meal is coming from.
Terror of shooters and the right from wrong. 18-year-old Pekka Erik Alvanen. November 7th, started at 11:40 of 2007, 2 years before my birthday on my birth date. one true ideal of the so-called future. The future plan of revenge from its own inspiration, and more, leading more. True inspiration, a mind of thought passed on from others rather than rotting, like everyone else, simply a guy who knew what he was doing, and not ruining his life, and just rather making the world a better place instead. 18-year-old Arda Kuchukyetum, also known as Skriwi. August 12th at 6:25 p.m. or 1825 of 2024. Approximately 126 days apart from my own ending. An ultimate saint, death's maid or not still willing to do what he did. A being of true nature, and being a word of the truth. Someone I was inspired by. Maybe I didn't know him, but what stops me? What would have stopped him from doing what was right, and now proven to be a true form of being and of simple hope? 18-year-old Vladislav Roslyakov. October 17th at 11:40 a.m. of 2018. Masterpiece of a price.
Her obsession with serial killers and mass murderers is evident. She probably felt some comfort in fantasizing about this kind of stuff, like she could reclaim power by killing people. She even posted about serial killers on her social media, and even wore a KMFDM t-shirt like Eric Harris, the Columbine shooter. And I keep asking, where were her parents during this situation? This kind of reminds me of Elliot Rodger and how his father kept ignoring his criticisms about being KAHV. I used to vent to my parents about this kind of stuff myself. I wanted friends in a relationship, and really, what can they do? I remember this one time I was seething about being alone. My mom was all like, I can't find friends for you. And she was right. It's not like I'm 6 years old and they can just introduce me to their friends' children. Because in your teenage years up until you're in the nursing home, you have to kind of make friends on your own. It's your responsibility.
I've looked into him since like late 2021 to 2022, and I've just realized how much potential bombs have. But it's not just that though. It's his strategy, his own method, and what led him to do it, and the fact he stuck to that. Some of his fangirls are like, really strange though, in my opinion, but aren't like all fangirls. There are also others that I admire, or so I'd like to say look up to or find interesting. Otherwise most are interesting to me, unlike those retarded individuals who simp over them like, come on, just stop.
It's funny how she has zero self-awareness here. Oh yeah, the other fangirls of this guy are weird. Not me though. I'm one of the normal ones. And I think this is a common cope among people who are excluded. They try to cope and think that they're above average in IQ or something else, and that's the reason why they're getting rejected from society, because they're the superior ones in their minds. And the truth is, I feel like these people just don't have anything to really offer other people, and are thus cast aside. And you see this delusion even in the BP space. People who self-diagnose themselves as 130 IQ Chad Lights who just happen to not get any girls. I actually have more respect for the people who openly admit they are incapable of getting into a relationship, rather than the ones who claim to be overqualified.
Like Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, Patrick Woods Crucius, Guillermo Tauchi, plus many, many more people. An introduction of myself. My name is Samantha Rupnow. I was born on November 7th of 2009, exactly 2 years after Pekka's attack. Incredible, am I right? Nobody knows I'm doing this. I got the weapons by lies and manipulation, and my father's stupidity. I planned on shooting myself a while ago, but thought maybe it's better for evolution rather than just one stupid boring suicide, which hopefully I'll reach that point. I've planned this myself and nobody else. I act alone. There would have been no way to change what has happened. You can't, and you never will know. You never cared too much to know anything about me. I'm glad you don't know. I've always been a quiet kid, I'd say, or at least that's what everyone else around me has said, and never really had the brains for most things because I wasn't smart enough for people around me, even though I'm good at science and some stuff. Nobody really looked at me in a good way in elementary or middle school, nor even high school right now. Doesn't matter much because I like being alone.
That look she's talking about, how no one looked at her in a good way. Again, I think she's coping when she says she'd rather be alone. But she brought up an interesting point. You know, I call this look the sub 5 stare. I remember the first day when I worked that godforsaken job at Starbucks when I was 18 years old. The girl that was training me, who I immediately fell in love with, gave me that same disgusted look upon making eye contact with me. It was almost like a knee-jerk reaction.
Sometimes I just hate being picked on, but yet I mourn for friends. But sooner than later, they'll leave. My therapist sucks. He's just some weak and fat guy who doesn't deserve everything he has now. Nobody deserves anything good.
Yo, that's so brutal. Even her therapist is catching a stray. I can't really blame her too, that's the thing. With people like DBDR saying this type of stuff all the time, how therapy just doesn't work. Bro, Samantha would have loved that video where DBDR calls his primary care provider a bald fuck. I have a few friends who go to therapy for their problems, and they seem to be just as miserable as they were before starting therapy. And I think becoming a psychiatrist is unironically one of the best jobs I could think of. You literally just sit there and lie to your parents for years on end. Oh, you don't have a girlfriend at 45 and you're poor. Maybe you just need to change your mindset, that's all. And then you prescribe them some Zoloft and call it a week until you move the goalposts the next week. It's a far easier job than the doctors who are doing surgery or treating physical symptoms, I can tell you that much. I talked to one of my childhood friends who tried a rope like 2 months ago. He mentioned how the medication was unironically more effective than all the therapy he did.
My so-called family never included me because I was too weird for them. My father never treated me with respect. My father will always make me stand out in the worst possible way yet. Bring up how I fail school or can't get out of bed simply because I don't want to leave. He makes me look like a freak to his family and friends. He says so much, but look at his bad side. My parents divorced quite a few times, which didn't help me at all, but not did it really affect me. It just made me a little lonely, because nobody was there for me and never really has. My mother tried overdosing when I was around 12 or something. I don't care if she would have survived or died from it, but yet she was still here. Doesn't mean she actually was in my life.
She says that the divorce didn't really affect her, but it likely did, whether she realizes it and doesn't want to admit it, or whether she doesn't even realize it. She even says that her mother tried to OD when she was younger, and if she's telling the truth, that is certainly going to traumatize you for years to come.
I see my parents as failures for everything they've done to me and just kind of fucking with my life. There never was helpful advice given to me. It was all bullshit. The world itself is bullshit, to be fair though, so why should I or you see so much in it? I've never really liked my father, to be exact. Because honestly, why should I? Our hate is mutual to each other. He will never see me as his daughter. He will never love me like he loved his ex or her kids, or even alcohol.
And that line is so brutal to me. More likely than not, the father was desperate for any semblance of attention from some other woman, that he put her own kids over his own. And of course, the alcoholic tendencies, a major crutch for so many other oofy doofies.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore, because nobody heard me out and just made fun of me my entire life. And I'm sick of it. I've been trapped and forced into my corner. I hate this corner that I'm stuck in. I hate humanity for forcing me into this little hole. I once had this time when I was young. You made me dig for so long and now I can't leave it but only look up at your smiles laughing at me. I honestly don't remember how old I was. I know I was young, but yet I remember everything that still happened because it happens every once in a while. Never have I once brought this up to a therapist. Anyone. Because nobody cared at that time, nor will now. I saw things around me and I lay on the floor not being able to move. I was overwhelmed and tired. Hard breath. Things around me felt bigger than usual, and I was faint. Once in a while I get that same feeling. Just I know how to control it. That one night I begged for my mother to help me, but she was in the next room to me in her apartment, where she was with her boyfriend, awake, 'cause all I heard was her walking right past me, and my room. I was the wrong child of the family. My parents admit they didn't want me, nor never did, even if I've grown. I'm always the one who sat out or sat in another room because they didn't want to interact with me at any point in time. Then I stayed in my room all day during the day and night and after and before school. Doesn't help that school was a pain in my ass while getting teased and pushed around. I always got picked on for being out of pocket as if the quietness was out of pocket for them and just too odd or something. I moved schools. What's already happening? Picked on again, just not any worse. I know this will happen anywhere and any time in my life, but it's annoying. I'm starting to realize you will all die and perish and be forgotten in 20 years or less. Your family will think you are a disappointment, as the hate I have for you now isn't enough. I want to hate to tear you apart, but yet won't happen, because you are the reason hate is a thing, and will always continue to be a thing. I am not hate, I am simply pointing this out. You and the system will always suck, therefore we need revolution. Nobody understands that though, nor do people understand the fact that they probably sat next to me in class and never thought a single word about me nor ever really thought to. I don't really care though, to be honest. Nobody really has. The wolf hunts its prey and continues life with no other bruises or scars. There is no predator and prey anymore. It is all filth walking. There's nothing more with filth. It simply cannot die or make hunts real if only they want is value. Finally, one learns that boredom is a disease of civilization.
And that's the end of her supposed 6-page manifesto. But if we take a look at some of her other writings, we can see that the language she used was actually quite similar in tone to BP lingo. It feels like she randomly closed her eyes, clicked on the first thread she could find on inkwells.is, copied and pasted that document into Microsoft Word, and then used the find and replace tool to replace women with men. Like, I'm starting to believe that whole meme of femcells just ripping off incels. Like, here's a supposed tweet from Samantha's account before the shooting happened. Again, it's not 100% confirmed if this is real. I figured I would include it in case it is.
Women are the only hope for this wretched world, but even women have been brainwashed by moids for too long. They've internalized the patriarchy and turned on each other, always begging for male approval and validation. It's disgusting. I realize the truth men are irredeemable. Radfem Austrian painter was fucking vindicated now. They can't be reformed or redeemed. They're a fucking scourge upon the earth. The only solution is to totally exterminate them and every foid who worships these fucking parasites. Every single male must be wiped out, from babies to the elderly. Only then can women be free to create a new world. I'll be a pioneer. I'll be the first to take the first step. I don't care if they are fathers, brothers, husbands, sons, teachers, police, and especially black people or politicians. I've been craving to kill them all. This is my mission. Only when their parasitic sludge has been expunged from this earth is when the world will be clean and women can start over. It's the only way. In approximately 10 minutes, I should be dead. It's strange, but it feels good.
And here's the real plot twist. Word on the street is that the person who procured this manifesto got it from Samantha's boyfriend. Yes, her boyfriend. You can't make this shit up. The self-proclaimed femcel had a boyfriend all along. Sure, the relationship was online, and he was from Germany, but nonetheless, that's still more than most sub-5 guys have gotten even after decades of trying. And that's the thing with forever alone women and all of that. They aren't necessarily as alone as their male counterparts. This is like if I went around telling people that I was 100% blind in both eyes, even though I only wear glasses. Like, sure, maybe she wasn't capable of getting a real-life relationship, which even that I don't fully believe. More likely than not, she was just incapable of getting into a relationship with a guy she found attractive. And you see this type of hypocrisy manifest in a lot of these mass killers' attacks. Elliot Rogers said that he wanted Chad's and Stacy's dead, and then ended up killing 3 other sub-5 guys that shared his room with him. Samantha hated men and wanted to purge the world of them, but only ended up killing 2 other women. If you ask any individual on this planet, they're gonna say that they're oppressed regardless. And to some extent, every group does have their advantages and disadvantages. You know, men are gonna complain about being lonely, to which women are just gonna laugh at them and say, just make friends. And then you're gonna have women who complain about reproductive rights, to which men are just gonna say, your body, my choice. Like, no matter what you say, no one else is really gonna take the time to look outside of their own struggles. And to be honest with you, I'm just as guilty of this as anyone else on the planet. And I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, reading all of this is just sad. People don't just decide to commit these types of crimes after waking up one morning. She clearly felt this way for a long time, and there was a lot of time for someone to step in and prevent this. Again, I need to make a point that Samantha is 100% responsible for all her actions, but someone intervening and stopping her could have saved the lives of 2 innocent people whose families will have to spend the holidays missing them. They're already trying to find any other accomplices who could have influenced Samantha, and they have pinned 20-year-old Alexander Pennendorf as a possible suspect. Like, this guy's only a few months older than me, and he's still trying to spend his free time plotting acts of mass terror. Job applications, bro. Job applications. Put the fries in the bag. And the worst part is, nothing is really gonna change, I'm afraid. Samantha got her wish. There are already people simping for her, despite the fact that she's a minor and should not be sexualized, and not to mention, very much dead. Like, it's fun to see all these guys, especially the ethnic guys, simping for her. Never mind that she is a dead minor, but she would have hated you. Did you not read what she had to say about people of color? Bro, she would have hated me if she was still alive. In the end, she became just like the other killers she worshipped, because I could already see people making pretty scene girl edits of her like they do with the Columbine shooters, and people following in her footsteps. And it was a miracle that I made it through K through 12 alive without a single shooting or anything like that. And the saddest thing is, this is just gonna happen somewhere else, to someone else. God forbid it happens to me, someone I know, or even anybody watching this video. I see so many people lobbying for gun control and whatnot, and personally I'm not gonna really give an opinion on that since I don't want to make this political, but it's not like the number of school shootings have gone down this year. In fact, there were actually more gun incidents on schools this year than in 2023, so if anything it's actually only gotten worse. And you know, people are gonna just turn this into a political statement in the wrong ways. They're more concerned about whether Samantha is a biological female or not. Oh, the shooter's trans. No, the shooter is a cisgender female. Bro, the shooter is dead. 10 years from now, just like how Samantha took inspiration from Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, some other loser is gonna take inspiration from her and shoot some other innocent kids before they even get a chance to grow up. But like I said earlier, a lot of these people do this kind of stuff to also teach the people that mistreated them IRL a lesson, which never happens. And that's one reason I could never take my life or do something like this, because they'll just clown on you anyways. I could never do anything like this even if I was at my lowest point. I refuse to let all those people who made fun of me have the satisfaction of having me end my life like that. Sure, you might be canonized as some saint amongst internet weirdos, but the people in real life will just move on, be happy, and forget about you. And for the most part, people on the internet are just clowning on her as well. Like, you guys remember that kid who was trying to give the interview to the news about Thomas Crooks? That guy was trying to hold in his laughter the whole time. I'm willing to bet no one in her real life actually cares about what Samantha did. They'll all be careful about what they say to the other quiet kids for a few months, and then they'll go back to making the same jokes. They'll all end up probably leading successful lives. Contrary to the last part of Samantha's manifesto, we've already had cases like Alec Manassian, Elliot Rodger, Jake Davison, Ethan Crumley, and we can add a female one to that list now. And every time something like this happens, it ends up just hurting the PSL space. Especially with the Ethan Crumley case, I remember the owner of Lookism.net shut down the website almost immediately, just because Ethan had browsed the site before. And similar to Ethan Crumley's parents, they're likely going to pursue legal action against Samantha's father for unintentionally giving her access to a firearm. It's pretty obvious that from her writing, Samantha herself could not have cared less about her father, so I'm sure him getting time in the slammer wasn't really a concern for her when she carried this out. I mean, it's really up to you whether you think he should be held liable for this, because on one hand, if everything about him being a negligent father is true, you could argue that he could have prevented this, but on the other hand, he himself didn't pull the trigger. But at the end of the day, there has to be someone that answers for this crime, and since Samantha is dead, they'll need to look into Jeff Rupnow and Alexander Panendorf for this crime. But yeah, that's basically all I had for this video. I had to make this emergency upload since I have a gut feeling that people are going to come out and try to find a way to blame the Inkwells for this, like they always do. I don't support this, DBDR doesn't support this, Wheat Waffles doesn't support this, unless it helps him sell more copies of his book. Nobody in the BP space really agrees with this. But yeah, only time will tell as to what the long-term effects of this were. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Yikes, Drathan. Have you tried being confident?
This is a certified PSL classic.